The moment I saw the towel, I knew something was off. It was just there, half-bunched, slightly damp, lying in the hallway like someone dropped it in a rush. That towel had no business being there. I always picked up after James. I always made sure things were neat. It wasn't just about order. It was about control. About making sure nothing was slipping through the cracks. But that Tuesday, everything slipped. I had come home early. It was a dull, gray day, rain threatening but never quite falling, and I had lied to my coworkers, saying I had a migraine. The truth was I just couldn't pretend anymore. I was tired. Tired of smiling. Tired of pretending that James and I were fine. We hadn't had sex in weeks. He was always busy, always tired, always somewhere else, mentally if not physically. So I came home, and I saw the towel. I remember standing there, staring at it like it was a crime scene. I didn't move. I listened. Silence. Then the unmistakable creak of the bedroom floor. I felt it in my chest, like a cold metal hand tightening around my ribs. I took off my shoes slowly, quietly. I walked like I was tiptoeing through a dream. I didn't want to be real. The door was closed. James never closed the bedroom door unless he was changing. But he wasn't changing. The silence was too deliberate. Too careful. It was the kind of silence people make when they're trying not to be heard. I didn't knock. I opened the door. The first thing I saw was James. Shirtless. His back to me. His head whipped around, eyes wide like a deer. The second thing I saw was the woman in our bed. Naked. Hair disheveled. And then, like puzzle pieces slamming into place all at once, I saw her face. Sophie, I said. She blinked. Sat up. Clutched the sheet to her chest like that would make it better. My little sister. In the raw moment after the discovery, words fail. But silence says more than enough. Sophie, I repeated, but it came out flat, like I didn't believe it myself. She didn't answer. She just stared at me wide-eyed and pale, like maybe if she stayed perfectly still, I'd vanish. James was the first to speak. It's not what it looks like. He actually said that. The most pathetic, overused, idiotic sentence in the English language, and he said it like it was going to fix everything. Like the sight of his bare back, her tangled hair on my pillow, the towel on the floor, I had imagined it all. My laugh came out dry and broken. I wasn't even crying. I thought I would, but no. It was like my body was too stunned to react properly. Get dressed, I said, my voice low and tight. Neither of them moved. Get dressed. James scrambled first. Sophie stayed there for a second longer, then gathered the sheet around her and slid out of bed. She wouldn't meet my eyes. Her cheeks were flushed, her lips trembling. I hated how small she looked. How young. Like she was the victim here. I didn't leave the room. I stood by the door and watched them dress in silence. James tried to speak again. Something about how he never meant to hurt me, how it just happened, how he still loved me. I held up a hand and cut him off. No, don't. You don't get to talk right now. Sophie pulled on her jeans without buttoning them. She grabbed her bra and shirt and looked around like she was lost. Still not speaking. Still not explaining. That silence was worse than anything she could have said. Because if she had screamed, or cried, or tried to justify it, that would have made her human. But silence? That made her a coward. You're my sister, I finally said. Not yelling. Just tired. You're my sister, Sophie. She flinched. And for the first time, I saw tears gather in her eyes. But still, she said nothing. She walked out past me, barefoot and ashamed. I didn't stop her. When Sophie left, she didn't slam the door. She just slipped out like a shadow. I stood there, listening to the faint sound of her footsteps down the stairs. Then silence again. The kind that settles in the walls. The kind that never really leaves. James was half-dressed, standing awkwardly near the bed, rubbing the back of his neck like a teenager caught sneaking out. You want to talk now? I asked. He nodded slowly. I don't even know where to start. Start with how long? He hesitated. How long? 6 months, he said, almost a whisper. I blinked. It was longer than I expected. Long enough to mean something. Long enough to hurt differently. 6 months, I repeated. It wasn't supposed to, he started, but I cut him off. Don't tell me what it wasn't supposed to be. Just tell me what it was. He sat down on the edge of the bed, then stood up again immediately like the sheets burned him. She was always around, he said. You invited her over. You always made her feel welcome. I don't know. One night we had drinks while you were out, and she kissed me. I didn't stop it. So it's my fault now? I asked, arms crossed. No, I'm just saying it happened. Then it happened again. It became a thing. A thing, I echoed. Like a hobby? He ran his hands through his hair. I didn't plan it, okay? But I couldn't stop. Why her? My voice cracked a little. Why her, James? Out of every woman in the world. Why my sister? He looked at me then, for real. And I saw something in his eyes I hadn't seen in months. Resentment. You want the truth? He said. Because she listened to me. She didn't make me feel like an idiot every time I had a thought. She laughed at my jokes. She made me feel like I mattered. And I didn't. You stopped trying a long time ago. I froze. It wasn't the words themselves. It was the way he said them. Like he'd been saving them. Like he'd wanted to blame me the entire time and just needed the right opportunity. I felt something inside me snap. Not anger. Not even pain. Just a deep, cold emptiness. You cheated on me, I said, my voice even. With my sister. And somehow you feel wronged. He didn't answer. That was answer enough. I didn't pack a bag. I didn't even take my charger. I just got in the car and drove. My hands were shaking the whole time. I kept switching the air conditioning on and off, trying to get my breath back. The more distance I put between me and James, the more I could hear the sound of her voice in my head, not saying anything. Just breathing. Like she had been waiting to be caught. I didn't have a plan. But I knew where I was going. Mom's house. It was always the place I ran to. Even in my 30s, even with a mortgage and a marriage and a job, when the world cracked, I ran to my mother like a child. But Sophie got there first. Her car was already in the driveway. I stared at it through the windshield. For a long time. I almost drove away. But something in me wanted the confrontation. I needed it. I needed to look her in the face without James in the room. I walked up, didn't knock, just opened the door. Mom was in the kitchen, holding a cup of tea with both hands like it was the only thing keeping her upright. She looked up and her face broke instantly. Sweetheart, she said, stepping toward me. Sophie was sitting at the table, wearing different clothes, looking scrubbed and tearful and very, very small. You told her already, I said. Sophie stood up. I didn't know where else to go. You could have gone to hell. That's pretty far from here. Don't, Mom said sharply. Both of you. Please. I turned to her. You knew. Just now, she said. Sophie told me maybe 10 minutes ago. And you made her tea? She's still my daughter. That hurt more than I expected. Sophie wiped her eyes. I know what I did was disgusting. I'm not here to justify it. But you came here first, I snapped. You came here to win her over. To soften the story. You always do this, you get in first, you make yourself the victim. I am not a victim, Sophie said, suddenly standing straighter. Her voice had weight again. But neither are you, some saint. I blinked. Oh, don't look so surprised, she continued. You've never been nice to me unless you had an audience. You spent our whole childhood trying to be the perfect one. And when you weren't perfect anymore, when your marriage started rotting, you ignored it. You buried it. You just smiled and played the role. You slept with my husband. You abandoned your marriage long before I touched him. Mom gasped. Sophie. But Sophie didn't stop. I'm not saying I'm proud of it. I'm not even saying I love him. But don't pretend this is just about betrayal. It's about power. You hate losing. You hate being second. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw something. But I didn't. I just looked at my mother. Her face was pale. Her shoulders were shaking. I want to know one thing, I said. Do you think she's right? Mom didn't answer. That silence felt familiar. I didn't slam the door when I left. I wanted to. God, I wanted to. But something in me refused to give Sophie the satisfaction of seeing me unravel. So I walked. Out the front door, down the steps, past her car. The wind was picking up, and I hadn't even realized I was crying until I tasted salt on my lips. My fingers were cold. I didn't have a plan. No hotel booked. No friend to call. The thing about having a picture-perfect marriage is, people stop checking in on you. They think you're fine. Untouchable. And now, here I was, untethered, uninvited, and nowhere to go. I sat in my car, but I didn't turn the engine on. I just sat there, holding the wheel like it was a lifeline. I thought about Sophie. About how she used to sneak into my room when she had nightmares. How I used to brush her hair while she watched cartoons. How she once cried when I moved away for college. That Sophie was gone. Or maybe she never existed. Maybe I was the only one who saw her that way. My phone buzzed. I didn't want to look. I really didn't. But I did. James. I'm sorry. Please come home. Let's talk. I'll tell you everything. No more lies. I stared at the screen like it had insulted me. Another buzz. James. She means nothing. It was a mistake. I want you. I laughed out loud. A dry, bitter sound that filled the empty car like smoke. He wanted me. Now, after dragging my heart through the sheets with her, I typed back, then deleted it. Typed again. Deleted. Finally, I threw the phone onto the passenger seat. I didn't need more words. I needed silence. But silence had a way of turning into memory. And memory was always cruel. The motel smelled like mold and lemon cleaner. The kind of place with stiff blankets and light switches that flicker when you touch them. But the door locked, and no one knew I was there. That was enough. I didn't sleep. I just lay there, staring at the ceiling fan as it turned in slow, lazy circles. My phone stayed on the dresser, screen down. But the memories wouldn't stop buzzing. The business trip he extended last February. The phone calls he used to take in the garage. The way Sophie had started wearing more perfume. The sudden closeness. The inside jokes. The way she'd look at me, then look away. God. It was all there. Like puzzle pieces scattered on the floor that I refused to pick up. Because if I picked them up, I'd have to build the truth. There was a birthday dinner 6 months ago. The one at that Italian place. Mom, me, James, Sophie. She showed up late, hair damp from a shower, cheeks flushed. James got up to hug her, and when they pulled apart, their eyes lingered just half a second too long. I remember feeling something then. Not suspicion. Just off. Like walking into a room and forgetting why you're there. That tiny, instinctive wrongness. I brushed it off. I always did. Because I didn't want to be the paranoid wife. I didn't want to be that woman. But now I wish I had been that woman. Maybe then I would have stopped it. Or at least seen it coming. Instead, I played perfect. I smiled. I handed James his drink and toasted to family. And the whole time, they were already sleeping together. I sat up, suddenly nauseous. Went to the tiny sink, splashed water on my face. In the mirror, I didn't recognize myself. Not just the puffy eyes and makeup streaks, but the look. The stillness. Like someone who just stepped out of a wreck and hasn't realized they're bleeding. I wasn't angry. I was humiliated. That's worse. Anger is fire. Humiliation is ice. It sits in your bones. It lingers. I leaned on the sink and whispered to my reflection. They deserve each other. But even that didn't feel true. Because I didn't believe either of them deserved anything. Not yet. I woke to the buzz of my phone vibrating on the wooden dresser. The motel room was still dark, the curtains drawn tight. I blinked, dry-mouthed and disoriented. The kind of sleep you crawl into only when your body gives up. My throat hurt. My head ached. The screen glowed. Unknown number. Hi. I don't know if this is the right number. But if this is James's wife, I think you should know something about your sister. I sat up instantly, adrenaline slamming into my chest like a hammer. I stared at the message. Read it 3 times before I could breathe. I typed back. Who is this? The typing bubble popped up within seconds. My name is Claire. I was engaged to a guy named Darren 2 years ago. He was seeing someone behind my back. I found out eventually. It was your sister. Sophie. I stared at the words like they were a dream I hadn't ordered. Claire. Darren. Sophie. More typing. I saw your post on Instagram months ago. Sophie in one of your family photos. That's how I recognized her. Same girl. Same lies. I didn't know how to reach out. But then I heard about what happened. My cousin works with your mom. It's a small world. The air felt thin in the room. Like I couldn't quite inhale all the way. Another message. She lied to me. To him. She knew he was engaged. She said she didn't care. Just thought you should know. It's not just about James. Your sister has done this before. I lowered the phone slowly. It wasn't a one-time mistake. It was a pattern. A habit. A choice. I sat there in that motel bed, half in my pajamas, staring at the peeling wallpaper, and felt something in me go cold. This wasn't just a betrayal. This was who Sophie was. I didn't call ahead. I didn't tell Mom. I just drove. Sophie was still at the house. Of course she was. She always stayed too long, always found a way to make herself comfortable wherever she landed, even in the ruins. When she opened the door, she looked surprised. Like she thought I'd vanished into my grief and wouldn't come back. She was wearing one of Mom's sweaters. Hair in a loose bun. No makeup. She looked like she wanted to look harmless. Where's Mom? I asked. She's out. Groceries, I think. Good. I stepped inside. She closed the door behind me carefully, like the tension in the air was made of glass. I walked past her into the living room. Sat on the couch. I didn't ask. I didn't wait to be offered tea. She followed me in and stood awkwardly by the armchair, fingers picking at her sleeve. I figured you'd call first, she said. I looked at her. Claire. That was all I said. But her face changed instantly. She blinked. Swallowed. What about her? She messaged me. Told me about Darren. 2 years ago. Sophie's lips pressed into a thin line. That wasn't the same. Wasn't it? She knew what Darren was like. He was already cheating before me. So you just helped him finish the job? Sophie looked away. I stood up. You have a pattern, sophomore. This isn't about James. It's not even about me. This is about you. You walk into people's lives and you take. You make it look like love, but it's hunger. You don't care who it hurts. That's not fair. No. I stepped closer. What part isn't fair? That I trusted you? That I let you into my life, my marriage? That I defended you our whole lives while you were sleeping with my husband and lying to my face? Her voice rose. You think everything's always been about you? You were the golden one. The favorite, the one who never had to try. I was just your shadow. Do you know how small that feels? Always walking 2 steps behind. I stared at her. There it was. The truth, finally naked. She didn't do it because she loved James. She did it because she hated being second. Always had. I nodded slowly. You know what hurts the most? I said. Not that you slept with him. Not even that you lied. It's that you didn't even pause. You didn't hesitate. You saw what I had, and you reached for it like it was yours. Like I didn't matter at all. She said nothing. There was nothing left to say. I walked to the door. Before I opened it, I turned back one last time. You can keep the sweater. It suits you. Someone else's warmth. Someone else's life. Then I left. And this time, I did slam the door. I bought a secondhand bookshelf and filled it with paperbacks. I cook for one. I talk to no one. I listen to the hum of the fridge like it's a lullaby. People ask me how I'm doing. I say I'm fine. Sometimes I mean it. Sometimes I don't. I saw Mom once. She came by with a plant I didn't ask for. She didn't say Sophie's name. I didn't ask. There's a photo in one of my drawers, me and Sophie as kids, arms around each other in matching dresses. I didn't throw it away. But I didn't hang it either. Some nights, I still think about the towel. The one on the hallway floor. That small, stupid thing that told the truth before either of them did. The lie was already there. Waiting. And now all that's left is the quiet. It's not peace, but it's honest. And for now, that's enough.